Greetings, one and all, to the most cursed, most cringiest corner of the internet. A YouTube channel content creator actively alienating everyone in both the analog and digital world. Well, welcome and good evening, you wonderful dice of all alignments. I am Lunar D8, the lunatic angel, your tsundere streamer who doesn't stream. Also, if you're curious about the thumbnails, I use Grok AI to make, well, as you've seen a lot for both Union Syndrome and for this game, and a bit here and there, especially Higurashi. Some interesting thumbnails. Though I would have to say a few things. You know, out of all the Sisters of Purgatory, Leviathan there, probably the cutest. But I would say Kairi Ushiromiya is very, very beautiful. She also looks like Ivy from Soul Calibur. You guys remember Soul Calibur? It's a fighting game with swords. It's on the PlayStation 2, Soul Calibur 2. It's a good game. But she looks like Ivy. She also looks like Kaoru Nagisa from Evangelion. She also looks like Sare the VTuber. She also kind of looks like Kurumi Kuruso or Cutie Q-chan from Union Syndrome, Rhythm Psychosis, the Denpa rhythm game. I made quite a few pictures of Cutie. It is unfortunate I can't really show you the thumbnail pictures in the videos, but hey, you can just scroll through, the videos page and apparently there's supposed to be a new Higurashi anime coming out, maybe by late 2026 or early 2027. I am very interested if that's going to be an entirely new story. But what on earth is going on? Kairi, look outside. What the hell is that? Everyone rushed to the window in response to her voice. Of course, Battler and Beato went too. Then they drew the curtains, looked at the scene outside, and were stunned into silence. How beautiful. Kinzo's words echoed the first impression felt by all who looked out at the scene beyond the windows. Not all beauty is benign. They always say that beauty has thorns, nya? I once wrote a parody song of Sweet Dreams. I also sung it very badly. Heck, I've done a lot of videos of terrible karaoke. I'll put a few links in the description below to videos that you might find interesting. Though everyone found the scene beautiful, they all sensed impending misfortune from it. Outside the window, countless small objects, pale glowing fragments of crystals, lay strewn about everywhere like fallen hail. The word fantastical perfectly summed up the scene that lay before them in the glowing rose garden. I saw something move over there. Hey, is someone over there? Wait, huh? A person just grew out of that glowing fragment. 7 Sisters of Purgatory, battle formation. With those words of Lucifer's, everyone finally realized that they were being surrounded by danger. One by one, the countless fragments shook and burst, and large dark bodies rose up from inside each. They were giants, with goat heads. One after another, they appeared from the insides of broken fragments. Those fragments lay all over the rose garden, in vast numbers, and made the ground glow, so that everyone inside was forced to shudder. 45. Wide area surveillance. Angie Beatrice, the witch who rules over the future in the year 1998. She stands completely on the outside of the cat box, making her entirely different from all the other witches. Just what will she find in this final game? Lambda Delta, invited as a guest to the final game by the Territory Lord and his wife. At times in the past, she has interfered with the game board, along with Bernkastel, but she now remains neutral, acting as an impartial observer. She is known for having many famous friends from various fields, but the fact that Bernkastel is one of these is something that should be noted with awe. Bernkastel. She is the witch who controls miracles, but she's also known as the witch who knows that miracles do not occur. She's determined to destroy the illusion of the witch, and even now, when Beato's game board has fulfilled its function, her determination remains just as strong. She is known as the Miko of the Great Lady Aurora, and rumor has it that this backing has given her considerable influence in the Senate. Virgilia, a now retired Endless Witch, and Beatrice's teacher. She used the Endless magic properly, and devoted her life to the smiles and happiness of many people. She taught Beatrice the Endless magic, believing that Beatrice would also devote herself to the people, and retired. Though she was Beatrice's teacher, she was also a magician, employed by Beatrice's family. For that reason, she interacted with Beatrice in a manner fitting for a servant. Some point to this as the source of Beatrice's arrogance and recklessness. Renove, one of the 72 great demons, works for a master in exchange for various forms of compensation. He currently has a contract with Beatrice as her butler, head furniture. He's become proficient at housekeeping after serving in many households, so his ability as a butler is very high. In the high society of witches, employing him has become a kind of status symbol. Furthermore, the cookies he bakes are superb, and witches will often form a line demanding them. He must possess tremendous magical power, but since he always stays out of the spotlight, to further boost his master's reputation, his combat capabilities are unknown. Gape, one of the 72 great demons, also Beatrice's friend. When a magician demands it, she grants the ability of instantaneous movement. She uses this extraordinary power for playing pranks mostly. Her specialty is hiding keys and bags during busy mornings. However, in the context of closed room mysteries, this power becomes an ultimate weapon that can easily strike a finishing blow. Her queen bee strikes are likely to pierce any and all detectives, forcing them to surrender. Lord Battler and his wife. Battler, the Territory Lord of the game board, and his wife Beatrice. After their wedding in the 6th game, they became a happy married couple. In the past, Battler emerged victorious at the end of his long-lasting game with Beato, and he reached all the truths behind everything. Now, in the final game, they have invited Battler's little sister Angie. Just what sort of tale will he weave with Beato by his side? Furuto Erika, the Witch of Truth, who was successfully revived from the depths of oblivion. She is an enigma, a witch who is also the detective and a human. Once again, she will serve her master Bernkastel in her scheming. The Seven Sisters of Purgatory, high-quality furniture created by Beatrice. Leviathan often represents the other younger sisters when speaking to Lucifer. Deep down, she has a brutal, deeply envious nature and is adept at spotting people's weaknesses. However, she's more of a selfish crybaby than a person burning with envy. For some reason, she's not very good at handling tough situations, and she often ends up coming in last among the sisters, getting the short end of the stick and crying. Beelzebub is the gourmet of the sisters and is known for being a big and picky eater. Her personality is similar to Mammon's, and the two sisters often fight over the same thing. She's always talking about food, which makes her a calming influence among the sisters. However, she also has that disturbing desire to kidnap pretty boys and store them in the food cellar. Mammon is quick to grab whatever she wants, without any concern for her sisters. Her motto is monopolize through greed, which means she's usually the main cause of arguments between the sisters. However, she is also the most honest about her own feelings, and the one most likely to try and please the opposite sex. She may be greedy, but she's a hard worker who will stop at nothing to capture her target's affections for all eternity. Lucifer is the oldest of the sisters, and therefore their leader. Because of this, she claims to be the strongest of them all, but she's secretly aware that she's actually the least talented. However, she has always acted with arrogance in an attempt to hide this fact from the others. Her greatest fear is that her sisters will scorn her if they ever find out. Satan takes on the role of constantly angry class president among the sisters. She's always quick to scold people, which is why the other sisters are so scared of her. For that reason, no one's ever willing to talk back to her, and she's actually quite lonely all the time. She'll sometimes intentionally do things that ought to get her in trouble, but none of the sisters ever scold this lonely furniture back. As the youngest of the sisters, Asmodeus is always doted upon. This might be why she alone is kept out of the way whenever an even slightly lewd topic comes up. She's always looking for a boyfriend in the hopes that her sisters will finally accept her as an adult. However, she keeps aiming too high and whiles away each day, dreaming of the prince who will never come. Belphegor is well trusted and known for being a reticent serious, and responsible piece of furniture. However, this is partly due to her demonic desire to turn her masters into useless, lazy pigs. In that sense, she might be the most demonic of all the sisters. She's serious to a fault, and not at all used to being treated kindly instead of the other way around. EVA, Beatrice, the witch who returned alive from the Legend of the Witch serial murders, and inherited the name of Beatrice. She uses the Ava culprit theory to refute all other existing theories regarding the cat box. At the same time, she can use the Ava culprit theory to create endless tragedies with herself as the culprit. Perhaps she could also be called the lid separating the inside and the outside of the cat box. Of course, she knows what's inside the cat box. Cheister 0000, a weapon of the Sisters' Cavalry, which serves the Pendragon. 00 is their calm and composed leader. However, this is merely the role demanded of her, since she's far more frail by nature. 00 excels at reconnaissance and serving as an advance guard, displaying extreme supremacy in unexpected encounters. However, her excessively powerful fighting strength has been called inhumane, and it isn't rare for her to be lynched and abused when she surrenders on the battlefield. Her one eye silently speaks to that. Cheister 45, a weapon in a contract with Beatrice. 45 has a methodical and timid personality, as well as a fairly strong persecution complex. Thanks to that, she's well suited to shoring up the weaknesses of 410's rough personality when they work as a pair. She can't stand silence, so she'll often become emotionally insecure if she isn't being ordered around by someone constantly. 45 excels in search and decision-making capabilities. The support she provides doubles the combative force of the sisters. .410, a weapon in a contract with Beatrice. 410 is a kid with a strong personality, whose peculiar style of speech tends to make light of people. She likes laughing at people who are serious or can never relax, which is why she's so fond of 45 and Lucifer. Her choice of words may be coarse, but she loves company and gets lonely easily. She gets depressed if there isn't someone talking with her constantly. 410 is particularly skilled when it comes to firing control, and she can wield unparalleled combative force even in close-range fighting. Lunar A. Knox, a member of Jungfrau, the 7th District Repentance Enforcement Agency of the Great Court of Heaven, a head inquisitor of heresy, and a first-class archbishop. She is commonly known as the Lunar of the 10 Witches, or Death Sentence Delaner. The name Death Sentence comes from the fact that, though inquisitors of heresy normally judge their targets to see whether they deserve the death penalty or not, Head Inquisitor Delaner is only dispatched after a case has been vigorously inspected by the Great Court. Therefore, the very act of dispatching her is equivalent to a sentence of death. Her father was a legendary inquisitor of heresy, but he broke the rules and was executed. She was the one who performed his interrogation and execution. Since that time, she has stopped growing, and both her body and mind remain eternally those of a young maiden. It is whispered that her heart also died at that moment, but she does not see it that way. Her primary weapon weapons are the red key and the blue key, which take the form of a long sword and a short sword. Gertrude, a member of Essen Jungfrau, the 7th District Repentance Enforcement Agency of the Great Court of Heaven. She's a high-level assistant inquisitor and a first-class minister. As an assistant inquisitor of heresy, she is tasked with aiding during interrogations and hearings. Because most missions end up as executions, she is usually assigned the job of using barriers to block the target's means of escape. When it comes to fulfilling her missions, she is calm, flawless, expressionless, and emotionless. However, most of the time she is quite compassionate and is loved by many of her juniors. She has already passed her exam to become a full inquisitor and was offered a vacant position in a different district, but she refused. She waits for reassignment under Lunar, to whom she owes a great debt, and continues to serve alongside her as an assistant. Therefore, though she is an assistant, she is treated as an inquisitor, 3rd class archbishop. Cornelia, a member of Essen Jungfrau, the 7th District Repentance Enforcement Agency of the Great Court of Heaven, an assistant inquisitor of a 3rd class minister. She has obtained high grades in academic exercises, but this is her first time on the job. She possesses a strong sense of justice, and is currently cramming for exams to become an inquisitor of heresy like Lunar. Her current goal is to become more like the veteran assistant, Gertrude. She normally has a zealous personality. However, she imitates Gertrude and tries to be emotionless. She's too innocent and pure to be involved in heresy hearings, and she doesn't yet know anything about dirty jobs and the dark side of this profession. Gertrude intentionally selected her for this mission, which reeks of a plot within the Senate. She wants Cornelia to see for herself whether she's really suited for this kind of work. Featherine Augustus Aurora, the Majestic. The majestic witch of theater-going, drama, and spectating. She is tired of life after 1,000 years and constantly repeats a cycle of life and death. In the past, she served as the master for several games as a legendary witch, but her legend, glory, and memory have already disappeared into the past and have been forgotten. Only the solemn medal she wears on her chest contains those memories. The horseshoe-shaped object floating around her head is a memory aid device. It records her name, appearance, and other aspects of her personality. She is so old that she would not be able to preserve her own individuality without this. All of the goats! Low-level furniture. In service to Beatrice. They are great in number, but silent and lacking personality. They obediently follow their master's orders. Their senses are closer to those of animals than humans, and they're surprisingly dull-witted, which sometimes leads them to misunderstanding their orders. They have, by nature, a massive build like a minotaur's and fearsome superhuman strength. They may be low-level furniture, but the ability to summon an inexhaustible supply of them makes them extremely convenient. Willard H. Wright and Leon Ushiromiya, While carrying out a job as an inquisitor of heresy at Burns' request, Willard met Leon. In the final stages of the tale, he rejected the tragedy presented by the Witch of Miracles in search of a happy ending. They have wandered through the sea of fragments, putting their lives on the line. They are now under Lady Lambda Delta's protection. Fur! One of the great 72 demons controls love and tests others through trials. Fur bestows endless, inexhaustible offensive power upon the maker of the contract, giving them enough courage to fearlessly overcome any barriers to their love. I'm trying to mix apparently what's a German and an Irish accent, and I don't think I can do that accent. It's also kind of like what I do sometimes for Hideyoshi's voice. It's like, what the fuck? A trainer of love who teaches tame boys the taste of flesh is of a different gender than Zepar. Zepar, one of the 72 great demons, controls love and tests others through trials. Zepar bestows an ultimate, I can't fucking do that, defensive barrier of immortality upon the maker of the contract, giving them enough courage to unflinchingly face any wounds love might cause. A hunter of love who likes and preys upon tame boys is of a different gender than Fur. Ushiromiya Battler, the son of Rudolph and his first wife, Asumu. When his father married a second wife shortly after Asumu's death, Battler rebelled and went to live with his grandparents on his mother's side. However, both of these grandparents passed away, and he had now returned to the Ushiromiya family after 6 years. This family conference is a chance for him to renew his friendship with his cousins after a 6-year gap. Ushiromiya Kinzo, the aged head of the Ushiromiya family. Even though it has already been announced that he has just a few months left to live, he is brimming with energy. Though he amassed a vast fortune in the past, he never made any announcements regarding the inheritance, which worries his children. He is strongly influenced by the West and is a rabid fan of the occult. His study is packed with mysterious grimoires. Ushiromiya Kraus, Kinzo's first child. As the oldest of the 4 siblings, he leads the family conference. However, the other siblings think he is trying to get all of the inheritance for himself, and this further strains the tensions between them. He is a real estate investor and has put a lot of money into the development of a resort. However, his results have been harshly criticized. Ushiromiya Natsui, Kraus's wife. She manages the household and the Ushiromiya head family in place of her husband, who takes little interest in such matters. She was in charge of all preparations and arrangements for the family conference. She possesses a strong sense of responsibility and a great deal of pride. However, neither her husband nor her siblings understand her very well, so her position is far from enviable. Jessica Ushiromiya, Kraus and Natsui's daughter. In the absence of any irregularities, it is thought that she will eventually inherit the headship of the Ushiromiya family, or technically her husband will. However, she seems to have no interest in all of this. She was born with a weak bronchi and is sometimes assailed by sudden asthma attacks. Attending physician Nanjo. Kinzo's attending physician and longtime friend. He once ran a hospital on Nijima, but he turned it over to his son and now enjoys his old age in peace. Now that Kinzo's constant suspicion has reached extraordinary heights, Nanjo is one of the very few people he trusts. Thanks to Nanjo's big-hearted nature, he has been able to continue his friendship with Kinzo despite the latter's tendency to fly into a rage at the slightest provocation. Ushiromiya Eva, which this thumbnail for this video is based on. Kinzo's second child. She is hostile towards her brother Kraus and opposes him whenever she can. From issues dealing with the family fortune to the question of who will succeed the family headship. Normally, she would have lost her place in the Ushiromiya family register upon her marriage, but she managed to forcibly overcome this by having her husband take her family name. Ushiromiya Hideyoshi, Ava's husband. He took his wife's name upon their marriage and became a member of the Ushiromiya family. That's usually the voice I give him. He therefore does not possess the spiteful genes passed down through the Ushiromiya family members, and his bright smile is very refreshing at the family conferences. He started his business from scratch and now works as the president of a medium-sized restaurant chain. This chain seems to be growing and performing extremely well. Ushiromiya George and Ava Hideyoshi's son, an affable young man, liked by everyone in the family. He is currently studying as an assistant for his father's company, and it seems he dreams of making it his own one day. As the oldest of the cousins, he acts as their leader and arbitrator. Beatrice, the Golden Witch, who has lived for 1,000 years. She has surpassed the limits of humans and, like demons, will sometimes appear in response to the summons made by humans to offer her power in exchange for a price. She has been called here for a ceremony involving the return of a vast amount of gold which the Ushiromiya family received from her grandmother. Rakanjima no longer has any need for the old arguments and tragedy. Beatrice, the Golden Witch, and the Ushiromiya family alchemist. Ushiromiya Rudolph, Kinzo's third child. Along with his sister Ava, he intends to make his voice heard during the family conference, to prevent their oldest sibling Kraus from keeping all of their father's wealth for himself. His former wife, Asumu, passed away 6 years ago, and he married his current wife, Kairi, shortly after that. Ushiromiya Kairi, Rudolph's second wife. She had already worked alongside him for some time before the death of his first wife, at which time she openly took the position of his wife. She has served as Rudolph's right hand in several shady pieces of business, guiding them to success. She is quick-thinking and well trusted by her husband. Servant Genji, the leader of the servants who work for the Ushiromiya family. He has served Kinzo longer than any other and is the person most trusted by that old man. Since he serves Kinzo directly, Kraus and Atsui think of him as being a spy for Kinzo. Ushiromiya Rosa, Kinzo's fourth child. She is by far the youngest of the four siblings. It seems that this gives her a weaker position at the family conference. She manages a design company, but she has yet to start taking it seriously, and its financial situation is far from favorable. Ushiromiya Maria, Rosa's daughter. Her father's identity is unknown. She can't shake off the habit of speaking like a young child, which often earns her a scolding. She has no interest in studying or making friends, but is very interested in things concerning the occult and black magic. Thanks to her excellent powers of memorization, she knows all kinds of obscure trivia. By the way, why do we not have a picture of Sakutaro anywhere? Which is both not only the human I can't remember how to spell that. I don't remember how to say that word. I'm gonna have to look it up on Google real quick. 1 second, guys. I don't remember. I had to look it up. Fuck. Anthropomorphism. Giving human qualities to inanimate objects is called personification. This figurative device makes objects relatable by assigning them human traits, emotions, or behaviors. If you want to dive deeper into how and why we do this, as I read from the AI overview, see literary device, the broader term, psychological perspective. Humans do this as a primal survival mechanism. Our brains evolved to detect hidden intentions in our environments. As users discuss on Reddit, our brains are wired to infer thoughts and emotions to navigate our world, which even extends to feelings, a sense of nostalgia or value towards cherished possessions. I don't know, I talk to stuffed animals. Who else talks? Anyway, Sakutaro is a lion stuffed animal. That being said, Leon Ushiromiya Sakutaro is basically what Leon Ushiromiya would look like when he was younger. Speaking of which, a younger version of... Why am I struggling to remember her name? I want to remember it without having to click on it. Angie. Her name's Angie. Ushiromiya Angie. Rudolph and Kairi's daughter. Battler's younger sister from a different mother. And again, spoilers on that. Kairi actually is Battler's biological mom. But that was, as to why that was revealed a few episodes back, and well, probably a few episodes in the future. We'll rehash that. She's so happy this year, surrounded by her beloved family and relatives. I'm sure that'll last. Shannon, as I stared directly at her titties. A young but experienced servant, she's normally calm and performs her job efficiently, but she messes up when she gets nervous. Furthermore, Shannon is nothing more than a pseudonym that she uses when on duty, not her real name. Servant Cannon, a young servant who performs his duties silently and diligently, but is not so highly regarded as a servant due to his unsociable nature. There are multiple other servants with the On character in their pseudonym. He and Shannon just happened to be the ones on duty that day. Servant Goda, a servant hired as a cook. He hasn't served this family long, but through his earlier jobs and previous experience, he has cultivated a talent for entertaining guests. Because of this, he is very highly regarded as a servant. Servant Kumasawa. This elderly woman is a part-timer who, though she has quit her job several times along the way, has served the family for a great many years in total. She is crafty and more than competent when it comes to performing her duties, but because of her chattiness and love of rumors, she is not highly regarded as a servant. By the way, there's also Claire, as well as multiple other characters, including the secret main character of the entire game, who I will not go into details about who they are in this moment, because I've already done that before. But Sayo Yasuda. Anyway, let's... Is anything in here right now? No. But my radar's filled with white. We're either being jammed or the vast number of readings is making a count of enemy numbers impossible. Even as she said this, the glowing rose garden outside the window was being filled with giant goats. The fragments carrying the goats weren't just in the rose garden. They were spread evenly across the entire island. Not just the rose garden, but the entire area around the mansion was being covered with goats by now. Allow us to speak. Know that we are completely surrounded. Yeah, we noticed. Hee. What'll you do now, Battler? Only one thing to do with uninvited guests. Let's chase them off. Who are these people? I'm guessing these aren't your minions, right, Beato? The goat forms they hold are probably just imitations of the pieces on this game board. They aren't Riche's or Leah's minions. This is something worse. I see. So they are manifestations of message bottles. Message bottles? The ones Beato made? Not quite. These are fragments of what people in the future have imagined. Endless possibilities are hidden within the cat box. Because of that, those outside the cat box can imagine the insides to be any one of an infinite number of things. Heck, I've done that in some previous recordings where I've put out some various, theories, or even when a established fact has come about, I can be like, well, I then come up with another version of it. I'm like, okay, this is something I like. Now, of course, the author can write a story however they want, and I, as a fan, I can enjoy it however I want. It would seem those endless delusions are the true form of these creatures. Well, what will those goats do to us, I wonder? Well, I'm going to end the video here. Hope everyone has all the hugs and head pats you could ever want or need, and thanks for hanging out. Bye.